Welcome to Anime Recaps. In this video, we will explain Gamers. This anime tells a story that revolves around certain students and one hobby. When otaku and gamers fall in love, it turns out that the relationship will be quite complicated. What is the love story of these teenagers? Let's find out in Gamers. Gamers begins by showing a young boy in the games store. The boy's name is Keita Amano, a high school student. Keita looks busy looking for romance genre games that are his favorite. That's when unexpectedly, a beautiful girl walked into the shop. The girl is Karen Tendou, the most beautiful girl in Keita's school. At that time, Karen greeted Keita and introduced herself in a friendly manner, but Keita just froze, unable to speak. In the end, Keita replied to Karen's self-introduction, even though with a lot of nervousness. Karen is described as a beautiful and smart student. She has a lot of fans at school, as evidenced by the many love letters she gets. On the other hand, Keita is just an average student, with average grades. Keita also doesn't have many friends and has been mostly engrossed in the game world. So it's not surprising that when suddenly greeted by Karen, Keita became nervous and couldn't say much. The nervous atmosphere between them grew when Karen saw Keita choosing a dating simulation game, so she misunderstood. Although luckily, the misunderstanding didn't last long and Keita explained that he really liked games and they started to have a friendly conversation. Then Karen offers Keita to join the game club with her after praising him for being the perfect person. Of course, Keita immediately agreed to the offer and was very happy. The next day, Karen comes to Keita's class, which actually attracts the attention of his classmates, so Keita immediately invites her to the club room. At the game club, Keita gets acquainted with other members including a student named Aichi Masumi, and two seniors Nana Oiso and Gakuro Kasi. The game club is apparently not arbitrary because they have won many competitions and earned money that was used to buy various game consoles. But when he was training with other club members, Keita couldn't keep up with their flow and greatness. Keita felt that he was really bad at playing games and finally decided to leave the club, which of course was very unfortunate considering he already had many friends from the game club. As expected the next day, Keita regretted leaving the game club. As if knowing his regret, Karen returned to Keita's class and asked him to return to the club. At that time, Karen's arrival again attracted the attention of Keita's classmates. They even misunderstood and thought that Karen was confessing her love to Keita. Despite getting another offer to join the club, Keita was forced to refuse because he wanted to play the game comfortably without any pressure from others. The rejection apparently hurts Karen, who cries and says she feels as if her love is being rejected. Karen ran outside with Keita's classmates watching her. One of Keita's classmates, Tasuku Uehara, approaches him and says he was so stupid to have rejected Karen's love. After school, Tasuku and Keita accidentally meet at an arcade game. Previously in middle school, Tasuku didn't have any friends, so he invited Keita to play a game together at that meeting. Apparently Keita is very bad at playing games. Even his abilities are below elementary school children. Even so, he seems to really enjoy every game he plays. At that time, Tasuku actually saw Karen was there and was watching Keita, but before he could say hello, Keita was in a hurry to leave because Tasuku's girlfriend, Aguri Sakurano, had come. Unexpectedly, Tasuku left Aguri in the arcade to run after Keita. They cross paths at a pedestrian bridge, where Tasuku scolds Keita for his behavior. He felt Keita was the same as he used to be, who only liked games and avoided other people. In addition, he also criticized Keita's attitude of insulting Karen's game club by saying the club was stupid. Apparently Keita didn't accept Tasuku's words and turned to corner him. He then emphasized that he has great respect for the game club and believes Karen is a good person for having asked him twice to join. After explaining, Keita apologized for almost making Tasuku fall off the bridge. They then parted ways. As Keita was walking home, he accidentally bumped into Karen, who apparently saw how Keita defended her in front of Tasuku. Karen looked at Keita with a gaze full of love, although once again Keita could only greet Karen without saying much. On the other hand, Tasuku again catches up with his girlfriend in the arcade and as an apology, he wins a stuffed cat from a claw machine game. Seeing Aguri, Tasuku realized that she had loved him since he was a nerd gamer boy. Even Aguri is willing to change her simple appearance to be more stylish to attract Tasuku's attention. The next day at school, Tasuku runs into Keita. When talking about games, it is revealed that Keita has an online friend named Mano who often accompanies him to play games together. Tasuku then said he hoped Keita could find a girlfriend, so he advised him to approach Karen's classmate, Chiaki Hoshinomori. When Chiaki was sitting alone playing games in class, Keita finally approached her. Although their introduction was stiff at first, the two became close after knowing they had the same hobby of playing games. Karen, who saw Chiaki and Keita's closeness, felt jealous, even though in the end Keita and Chiaki quarreled because they had different opinions about a game they both played. Tasuku tried to mediate between them, and finally suggested Chiaki cut her hair, which was originally very long. The closeness of Chiaki, Keita, and Tasuku not only made Karen jealous but also Aguri, who saw them from outside the classroom. Chiaki apparently really took Tasuku's advice and cut her hair short the next day. When greeting Tasuku and Keita in the classroom hallway, the two boys almost didn't recognize Chiaki, who had turned so beautiful. Tasuku complimented Chiaki's appearance and called it cute from the start. Apparently, Aguri heard Tasuku's words, who immediately thought that Tasuku was cheating on her. Keita saw Aguri, who ran away and chased after her. When he invites her to eat together, Keita finds out about the misunderstanding between them and tries to explain the real situation. But at that time, Tasuku was walking with Chiaki, so Aguri almost couldn't believe Keita's explanation. Whereas at the time, Chiaki explained to Tasuku that she was playing a retro game called Mono Online. Tasuku then realized that Chiaki and Keita were actually very close when playing online games but couldn't get close to each other in real life because they kept arguing. Tasuku then has a close relationship with Karen, as the two often converse in class. Aguri, who saw this, became increasingly annoyed and jealous, so she often asked Keita to meet to complain about Tasuku, who she judged to be close to many girls. However, Keita convinces and supports Aguri to resolve the misunderstanding and continue her relationship with Tasuku. The next scene shows Karen's perfect days. Karen woke up early and stretched and went to school. At school, she faces many male students who confess their love for her. Until that night, Karen would go to bed early in preparation for the next day. Karen's days went perfectly. Unfortunately, that perfection ended after she realized her feelings for Keita. After that, her days seem to fall apart. She wakes up late because she dreams of Keita, forgets to do her homework because she is busy thinking about Keita, can't even face and is nervous when she meets Keita at school. Even at night, Karen is busy thinking about Keita until she sleeps late. One day, Karen accidentally meets Keita on the street. She then invites Keita to take a walk together at a game shop. They spend the day together and become closer. When they are about to part in the evening, Keita cheers Karen by saying she should enjoy life like a game, sometimes losing and sometimes winning. Karen returns home with renewed vigor and a great desire to start playing games. The next day, while talking in class, Tasuku suggests Keita confess his love to Karen. He also told Keita to be a normal person and not really like 2D characters in games. Keita realized that Tasuku's words were true and decided to confess his feelings to Karen. Even though he had made up his mind, Keita was still insecure and doubtful. Finally, he pours out his feelings when he meets to eat with Aguri. Then Aguri suggested that Keita remain optimistic and confident with everything he has when he confesses his love later. Aguri even gave an example based on her confession of love to Tasuku in the past. After getting encouragement and advice from his two friends, Keita finally steeled himself to confess his love to Karen. He invites Karen to meet, which immediately makes her feel panicked. But when they met, they didn't expect that there would be so many classmates swarming the two of them. Keita almost cancels his intention. He feels that he now has enough games and friends. When he thought about the game, he actually remembered one of the dialogues in the game that made him dare to confess his love to Karen in front of his classmates. Karen accepts Keita's declaration of love, which of course makes everyone, especially the classmates who watch them, shocked. Since then, Keita and Karen have been officially dating. After that, Keita invites Karen to meet him on the school roof. Karen came first and got very nervous. She thinks Keita's previous declaration of love was a mistake, and he will break up with her. But what happened was the opposite. Keita comes to the rooftop and expresses his gratitude that Karen has accepted his declaration of love. For that, Keita intends to ask Karen out on a date. Karen was very happy with the invitation, but she could only stare and nod her head. Long story short, the two went on a date at a game center and spent time together playing various games. When they get home together on the bus, Keita and Karen can't help but feel happy because they've had a great day together. The next day, Tasuku invites Keita, Aguri, and Karen to gather together at Chiaki's house to play the game Love game of Half-Life. He also hopes to resolve the misunderstanding with Aguri when playing the game later. But the opposite happened. The game makes Tasuku and Aguri increasingly suspicious of each other. Luckily, Keita managed to lighten the mood so Tasuku and Aguri could have a heart-to-heart talk, explaining that they weren't cheating. At the same time, Chiaki actually realizes that Keita is his friend in the online game and makes her realize that she likes Keita, but it's too late because Keita is dating Karen. After knowing this, Chiaki tried to limit her interaction with Keita. On the other hand, Chiaki's younger sister Amano Hoshinomori finds out about her older sister's feelings and tries to get her closer to Keita. She even intends to make Keita fall in love with Chiaki. This intention is known to Keita, who then tries to show that he has an intimate love relationship with Karen. While being with Chiaki and Kanoa, Keita even accidentally picked up the phone from Karen, who at that time asked for his help. This incident makes Chiaki realize that she really has no hope of getting Keita's love. Likewise, Kanoa then said she didn't want to interfere with other people's relationships. The scene moves to a cafe where Aguri's middle school friends try to trick Aguri into a reunion. While they were together at the cafe, Aguri's friend invited their other friend who was known to be an otaku gamer. Aguri did not accept that her close friends who had helped her all this time were ridiculed, so she immediately left her friends. While walking home, Aguri saw Tasuku, who was with Chiaki and Karen. She again misunderstood, thought Tasuku was really cheating on her, and ran away crying. Apparently Tasuku also saw Aguri and realized that his girlfriend had misunderstood. He then chases Aguri, along with Chiaki and Karen. At her house, Aguri calls Keita and asks him to come. Not long after, they all gathered at Aguri's house, and Karen and Chiaki explained that they had nothing to do with Tasuku. Tasuku and Aguri's relationship improved again after hearing this explanation. When they get home, Karen's love for Keita is so overwhelming that Tasuku suggests they go on a date so the two of them get closer. That evening, Karen calls Keita to ask him out on a weekend date. She felt so nervous and happy when Keita agreed to the invitation. They finally agreed to take Tasuku and Aguri and go on a double date together. Fast forward to the weekend, where they all went to the amusement park. But unexpectedly, Chiaki and Kanoa also came to the amusement park with the intention of interrupting the couple's date. Luckily, the plan didn't work out and their date went smoothly without any major hiccups. At the same time, Keita and Karen's relationship is getting closer. They then plan to take a vacation during the semester break and stay together. The misunderstanding between them was over and they went on vacation together. The moral that can be learned from gamers is not to feel inferior because you are an otaku or gamer. There could be a beautiful girl who is secretly in love with you.